It's been obvious to everybody over the last couple of years that Disney has really done a lot of damage to themselves by getting embroiled in these socio-political issues all over the parental rights and education bill. That really was the start of just this landslide of negative PR for Disney regarding their children's entertainment. When you have leaked Zoom calls where you have people who work at Disney explicitly describing on how they sneak gay shit into children's programming.
I'm here as a mother of two queer children, actually, one transgender child and one pansexual child, and also as a leader. One of our execs stood up and said, we only have a handful of queer leads in our content. And I went, what? That can't be true. And I realized, it actually is true. We have many, many, many LGBTQIA characters in our stories, and yet we don't have enough leads.
I've had the privilege of working with the Moon Girl team for the last 2 years, and especially with like trans characters, you can't see if someone is trans. There's not one way to look trans.
Are you sure about that?
The showrunners were super welcoming. Meredith Roberts and like our leadership over there has been so welcoming to like my like not at all secret gay agenda. And so like I feel like I felt like it was, I mean, like maybe it was that way in the past, but I guess like something must have happened in the last like they are turning it around, they're going hard. And then all that like momentum that I felt, like that sense of I don't have to be afraid to like, let's have these two characters kiss. Let's in the background, like I was just wherever I could, just basically adding queerness to like if you see anything queer in the show.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day for this very important session. By now, I hope you've all read my most recent note, in which I pledged to be a better ally for the LGBTQ+ community, apologize for not being the ally that you needed me to be, and committed to ensuring that our company lives up to its values. I meant every word, and that's what we're here to talk about today. I know that we've got work to do, and that work starts with listening. I'm glad the company will hear from today's panel of LGBTQ+ employees, and I hope that you are as impacted as I've been by the voices that I've heard over the past few weeks. I've read many emails that have been sent, spoken with LGBTQ+ employees and their allies, met with advocacy groups, and convened my own leadership team. And I have been taken by the honesty, the openness, and the urgency of their stories. I want you to know that your words have made a real impact on me. I understand that we've made mistakes and the pain that those mistakes have caused. And I know that our silence wasn't just about the bill in Florida, but about every time an individual or institution that should have stood up for this community did not. I and the leadership team are determined to use this moment as a catalyst for more meaningful and lasting change. We've heard many suggestions on how to do that, and we are working to move quickly. I want to thank the LGBTQIA+ Advisory Council, their allies, and everyone else who has submitted ideas on how we can take action. I am convening a meeting with all my direct reports and representatives of the Advisory Council to discuss the thoughtful suggestions that have been made. But we know the moment requires urgency and words are not enough, so we are taking some actions right now.
Apparently, at least some people at the company have recognized maybe this is doing some damage to us. And Pete Docter, who is the CCO, I believe, of Pixar, has been out there making some statements about this lately. Pete Docter, Pixar to ditch social political messaging for films that appeal to everybody. Isn't that a novel concept, Jay?
Yes.
Family movies that appeal to everyone instead of just the weird LGBTQ mafia. Pete Docter, the chief creative officer of Pixar, says the animation studio will stop putting socio-political messaging in its movies and instead make sure the films appeal to everyone. Pixar CCO Pete Docter is looking for their new films to re-embrace universally relatable concepts like talking toys and monsters in the closet. As time's gone on, I realize my job is to make sure the films appeal to everybody. One of the interesting things that came out of this was also about one of the last bombs they had, which was Elio. Now, Hoppers is in theaters right now. It had a reasonable opening weekend. Nothing like some of the heights we've seen from some of their movies before, but considering it's a new franchise for them, not terrible, you know. But Elio was an absolute disaster last year. And one of the reasons behind that was because the movie was made to basically satisfy the original director's gay upbringing or whatever.
Yeah.
This line is fucking hilarious. Pete Docter, the CCO at Pixar and director of Monsters, Inc. Up and Inside Out, gives his reason why the studio cut the gay storyline from Elio. Quote, "We're making a movie, not hundreds of millions of dollars of therapy."
Wow.
What a fucking line.
Therapy for people.
And I think, look, there's a couple ways to look at that line. One, people think it's like the audience, meaning like therapy for the audience to see themselves. I think a lot of people also see it more as a shot specifically at the original director of this, who wanted to model this character because he's gay or whatever and wanted to put himself in that. That might be what he means by millions of dollars of therapy. Basically, these activists coming in and wanting to tell these stories that no one else is fucking interested in. Docter told the Wall Street Journal that Pixar didn't want to expose its young audience to things they weren't ready to see or hadn't discussed with their parents. He said, "We're making a movie, not hundreds of millions of dollars of therapy." Elio follows a lonely kid who looks to the stars for friends after being rejected as an outsider by other kids his age. Despite the clever premise, Wall Street Journal reports the film tested poorly in early screenings. Most audiences say they wouldn't pay it to see it in theaters. In response, Docter ordered a complete overhaul of the film, even though a significant chunk of animation was complete. The overhaul led to the exit of the film's original director, Adrian Molina. These people then stepped in, made significant changes to Elio, removing moments that indicated the title character was gay. Previous versions of the film showed Elio with a pink bike and had a scene where he imagines a life together with his male crush. The changes sparked backlash within the Pixar staff because so many of them are gay fucking losers and activists. A couple statements like this, a couple things that you don't air, a couple changes you make, those are good steps, but it's going to take a while before Disney is able to regain the trust of families who lost faith in them. Because, Jay, a decade and a half ago, you probably wouldn't have too many people worried about putting on a Disney movie or a Disney show in front of their kids. Now, have we had things before like, oh, this random thing in the clouds or this? Yeah, we've had little things like that before, but it's not this full-on fucking indoctrination that's been happening. So it's a long way to go. And this is all well and good. But considering all the people at Pixar that were mad at this, it tells you how infested these companies are with these activists.
It's so wild to me that their message is more important than the story or making a good product. They probably would rather sit around going, how do we make him more gay? But we don't want to scare off families either. Let's just make his bike pink, or something like that. Like just adding little things like that. I'm glad. I hope this was a major call out to these type of people and these activists, like you said, that have infected everything. And hopefully, like, we're going to start to see an end. But you're right, man. When Disney had that run of, like, Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Emperor's New Groove, and it's like everybody was excited to go see those films. The Lion King, it was like, holy crap, we got another awesome animation coming out. Let's go see it. And now, yeah, it's more like, maybe we need to wait and see before there's some, we don't want any funny business in there. But he's also absolutely correct. Why would you want to expose something to kids that parents, maybe they wanted to wait another year before they had the sex talk with the birds and the bees, maybe they wanted to do, it's like, I don't want to expose my kid to that yet. They're not old enough to sit down and have that conversation, in the parents' eyes. So it's like now, yeah, they got to vet stuff to make sure that it's okay for their kids to watch. And it's really sad that we've gotten to this place now, where that's just how it is. And now like you said, these activists are everywhere and they're trying to do even little things to try to get their messaging, like changing the color of a bicycle. I mean, it's just what they want. Total takeover of everything, I guess. Yeah. It's wild, man. You're right. There's going to be some deep rooted people that have been there a long time that's going to have to go before we see an end to all this stuff, The thing is, if you want to make a gay movie, then just go all out and make it. If people want to watch it, they'll watch it. If they don't, they don't. The fact that you try to hide it under Pixar's name or Disney's name, things like that, and like we see what's going on here now, and like we're tired of it, man. Like everybody's tired of it. So if you want to continue to lose money and not put stuff out, then that's on you.
You also you have to have the right budget for that, right? Should this be an $150 million, $2 million budget movie if your target audience is all this gay shit? Probably fucking not. Right. But they want it to, they need to do these things, Jay, because no one's going to watch that other shit. It's only going to appeal to the people that are already gay and everything. What they want is to normalize this shit to the masses, and they do it through these big projects. That's their intent. That's what they want to do. And so it's good. This messaging from a Pixar executive is good. But people are going to need to see a lot more than that. They're going to need to see sustained multiple projects year after year of true changes and universal storytelling without activism before people trust Disney with their children again.